Welcome back to another episode of Break Out of the Matrix. Oh my God, so excited because my friend, my entrepreneur friend, my internet friend, Maddie is here with us today. She is a rock star. I'm going to let her introduce herself, but we're going to be talking all the things community, online business, fad diets and why we disagree with them, getting rid of yo-yo diets, law of attraction, manifestation, everything that you could imagine in this podcast, because she is really just killing it in the online space, in real life, and I'm so excited for you guys to meet her. Welcome, Maddie.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Yes, of course. I know we had been talking about this. We've been talking back and forth on DM, and I'm so happy that we finally found a time to record and get the ball rolling here. So, Maddie, tell us who you are, how you broke out of the Matrix, and what got you to where you are today.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay. So I've always known, I would say for the past 5 years, that the 9-to-5 life just kind of wasn't for me. Just didn't feel aligned. And when I was at my first real job when I was 18, I had somebody ask me, where do you see yourself when you're 30? What do you see your role, and what do you see yourself doing for a living? And my first thought, just out of nowhere, was not working for somebody else and living on my own terms. And I remember saying that to this guy, and he's no, but for real, what do you see yourself doing? Almost doubting what I was saying, be realistic kind of thing is what he was asking and saying. And I was just I just do not jive with this. So over the past 5 years, I spent a lot of time learning about manifestation, learning about the law of attraction, and then built my own business starting in March. And now I am about to quit my full-time job and just pursue my business full-time. So I'm so excited.
Amazing. And tell us, what is your business? What is the business you're going to be pursuing full-time?
So I attract clients that are trying to lose weight sustainably, people that used to be yo-yo dieters or people that were just caught up in trying to lose weight as quickly as possible and then gaining the weight back. So I help women that are trying to lose weight in a sustainable way, lose weight for life this time. So that's what I do full-time now.
I love that. And tell the audience more about your story, because you have a really compelling story about your experience with weight loss.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start here. But I started my first yo-yo diet in 2012. So, you're in high school, you just want to be a little skinnier, you know how it is. And that was back in the day where the thigh gap era was huge. Everybody just wanted to be skinny, a size 0. And that just wasn't me, I just wasn't me. I was a cheerleader, I was built, and I just decided I'm just going to go on a little diet. Did a little Google research, fell into the 800 calorie a day diet thing. And then from there, it totally ruined my relationship with food. So then from 2012 to 2018, I would say, I gained 70 pounds, even though I lost 20 pounds when I first did this yo-yo diet. And then from there, it was learning about fixing my relationship with myself and my food and all of that kind of stuff in order to get to where I am right now, which is finally out of the yo-yo dieting industry, out of those terrible habits that don't serve anybody. But yeah, it's been a ride. It's been a decade of dieting and just figuring out what works for me. So yeah.
Wow, we have to talk about this, because I remember when I was in high school and I was trying to get in shape for prom, I was seeing all these ads for that skinny tea. I don't even know where I was seeing these ads. Maybe I don't even know. I guess Instagram kind of, or maybe it was more influencers were promoting it, and I was I want to be like her. I was I want to have this skinny tea for my prom, and then all my friends were doing it, so then I had FOMO. We would all do it together, and now looking back, I'm this is so toxic. So yeah, what would you say to people who are looking for that kind of quick fix?
So the problem is the quickest way to lose weight is the quickest way to gain the weight back. And the yo-yo diets that and the skinny teas, they're targeted for people just like you, trying to lose weight really fast for an event, for a wedding, the whole kind of thing. And then you do this really fast, that sustainable thing, and then you drop some weight really fast. But then the second you go back to your pre-programmed habits and your regular life stuff, you gain your weight back. And then people are well, nothing works for me. It's not that nothing works. It's just you're looking for a fast, quick, and easy solution to something that's way more intense. So yeah, that stuff just doesn't work. And going down that direction, you're going to go down an area of eating disorders and not feeling good enough, no matter how small that you get. It's a terrible industry, and it really needs to change.
Yeah, and let's talk about that, because I would love to talk about relationship to food and what would you say to somebody who's struggling right now with their relationship to food? And the reason I'm asking is because that's something that I'm learning to really develop and better in myself. Like, I wouldn't say it's to any extreme, but I definitely notice that I eat based on my emotions. And something that's been really helpful for me personally is like actually scheduling like 3 meals a day, because if I don't, then like I start getting ravenous, I start getting like emotional eating. So how do you help people heal their relationship to food?
So your relationship with food kind of starts with your relationship like with yourself first. Like, that's what I really think. So if somebody comes to me and they're like, I have a bad relationship with food, I look at food as like good and bad. Like, that's the best way you can kind of know if somebody's relationship with food isn't super good. So you kind of go back and say, like, how did you get there? How did you get to this point? And it's usually from like the diet industry. Like, you see these foods are good and bad, and then you default to those foods. Like, the more you say that they're bad, like that's what you go after. Cause like, you want what you can't have. And like, your brain is conditioned to go after these bad foods when you label them. But when in reality, you take the labels off and you look at food for what it is. Like, food is not good or bad. Like, food is food. And some food has more nutrients than others. And some foods will serve your goals better and make you think better and make you feel better. But one thing that really helped me heal my relationship with food is it's like, you're not saying no to processed food. You're not saying no to ice cream. Like, you're saying yes to the feeling that you're going to get, like when you eat foods that you know make you feel better. Like, I just know I feel so much better. I have so much more energy when I eat foods that are mostly whole and nutritious. And like, that doesn't mean that there's not like a time and the place for the pizzas, the ice creams, the stuff that like I still do enjoy, like in moderation, because that's what life is about, like moderation and enjoying your life. But like, I know I perform better and I show up better, and it's proven that your brain thinks better when you eat foods that are full of nutrients and full of fiber and full of the good stuff that you need. So like, when you change your mindset and you think of food in that way, like, food is fuel, you know, like food is like gas in a car. Like, you can put premium gas in a Lamborghini and it runs really well, or you put less regular gas or whatever it is in a Lamborghini, like it's still gonna run, but like not to the way that it's supposed to. So it's like, you kind of got to treat your body and your mind the way that you really know that you deserve to show up for yourself. And like, if you see it from that perspective, it's so much easier to make better choices and eat even if you don't want to, and schedule your meals like you said, because that's true. People get ravenous when, you know what I'm saying, they don't schedule their food and they try to avoid eating in the morning and then they binge at night, and you know how this is. I'm sure we've all been there though, you know, so yeah, it makes a ton of sense.
Oh my God, thank you for sharing that. And I absolutely love the example you said with the Lamborghini, because I actually share a similar example in my courses and in my coaching with clients. Is I always say, like, you can come to the classes, you can come to the coaching, and we could build I say Ferrari, but like, we could build the Ferrari engine, but if you don't put gas in the car, you don't take action beyond the call, nothing's going to change. And
exactly.
I love that we're like using the same analogy, and especially because I love what you said, like, food is fuel. Like, this is something that I'm only learning, I would say like the past year and a half, that I moved out and got my own apartment in New York City. Because how do you feel about, you know, being surrounded by people with not the best eating habits? Because I know growing up, I grew up like, my grandpa took us to McDonald's every week. We only ate pasta for dinner, and my dad owns a bakery, so we had a lot of sweets. So how would you say for people that are kind of in those environments, how they can really change their habits? Because those are like, that's deep instilled shit. Like, that's what I learned.
Yeah, no, totally. And the same thing for me growing up. So I have 3 brothers, and you know, brothers love junk food. And we, of course, had a ton of junk food in the house. And my mom had fast food Fridays every day. I mean, every Friday, like after she went home from work, like we all got fast food. So like, it was also part of my lifestyle growing up as well, to be around food that wasn't always serving for the best health. But I think after I learned more about the power of food and how it makes me think and just feel so much better, I focused on adding those things into my life instead of taking away all of the things that I was already doing. So for example, like, let's say Fast Food Friday was what we did growing up, just giving you an example. I would say, okay, I know I'm going to do that, but what if I can add in foods that I know are going to make me feel good, like fruit and vegetables throughout the day, and then still have time to enjoy the things that I want to enjoy? Because again, it's everything in moderation. So I would tell somebody, like, you might have a household that has ingredients and stuff that might not be serving for your goals or for the best health for you, but what can you add in? Like, what can you choose like to put into your body that's not just what you've been doing? Just focus on what you can add instead of taking all of those things away. That's really what it is at the end of the day.
I love that. So powerful. And I love what you also said about the relationship to self as well as the relationship with food, because I have this like rule of thumb in my life where everything I do, I ask myself, what's the ROI? Like, I do come from a finance background too. I know you work in finance. So it's like the same thing where it's like, I always ask myself, like, what's the emotional ROI? What's the financial ROI, right? So when I think about now my eating habits, I ask myself, how is this going to make me feel? Like what you were saying before. And the same way when I invest in a course, what's the ROI I'm going to get from this? Emotionally, financially, right? Mentally. And looking at food that way really helped me change my relationship to food.
Right. No, I believe it 1,000%. And again, it's not focusing on like, oh, I can't do all of these things, because that's what people think about when they want to start a diet. And like the word diet just sucks in general. Like, how about you start a new lifestyle change that involves you just incorporating things that you know are going to make you feel good and show up as your best self. Like, I know it sounds corny and everybody says this, but like, you have one life, you know, like we are here one time, like in this lifetime at least, like let's show up and give ourselves like the best that we can do and like give us what we know we deserve. And I always know that like I'm in alignment with my food choices when it genuinely feels good in my core. And if my highest self wouldn't make a certain decision, those are the decisions that I just try to make, like the decisions that I know the best version of Maddie would make. And when you think of it like that, it's not like you're restricting from bad things. You're just choosing something different that you know is going to serve you better. And it just helps you feel so much better. Like that was my experience, and it helps so many other women. Like, so I know it works, but you got to focus on what you can add in, except like what you could take away.
I love that. So this kind of brings me into the spirituality conversation and hearing more about your journey with spirituality. I think this is something that we bonded over initially, and we've talked about a lot. You're talking about showing up as your highest self and this kick-ass business that you've built for yourself. So how would you say that your spiritual practices has helped you in business, in your relationship with food? I know you just got engaged.
I know, isn't that
in your
fun?
Romantic relationships. Yeah, like how, talk to us, because a lot, my community obviously is really focused, we're focused on spirituality, but also entrepreneurship and all the things.
So absolutely, like my relationship like with my spirituality and like the universe and God is the only reason why I'm here right now. And I know that for sure. And I got into the law of attraction and manifestation through The Secret, like everybody else, right? Back in 2017 or 18. Everybody is started with The Secret. And if you didn't start with The Secret, like you're lying, right? So no, I'm serious. Like that's how I feel. I'm like, no, like this is like the only way to get started. But anyways, my stepmom introduced me to this book 2017 or 2018. And like for a little bit, you're like, whatever, I'll read it later, right? And then one day when I picked it up, I was like, just start reading it. I'm like, oh my God, like this is totally different than how I think and feel. Watched it on Netflix. From there, my life was totally different. And like to this day, I still reread The Secret like all the time because it totally changed my life. But the biggest thing that I took away from that is you can design your life any way that you want. And people have this idea that just because you come from a certain background or you come from not a lot of money or not good health, that like you're just like predetermined to just become that. And like it just could not be further from the truth. And when I wrote down what I was grateful for on a regular basis in the current tense and in the future, like in the future tense, like future pacing, I did that for years. That is literally like how my life became like this. And I would not owe anything else other than to my relationship with God, with my spirituality, and like knowing that as long as I'm in alignment and in like a connectivity in my head of what I want, like it's just going to come to me. And like it always does, like almost effortlessly and so fast. Like it's kind of scary, but like it's just getting yourself aligned with that point. But yeah, totally changed my life.
I love that. And that is so powerful. And I also want to hear more about, because I know we've talked about this behind the scenes and like offline, but hearing more about your membership that you've built. Tell everybody about this like kick-ass business that you've built for yourself, and also how you infused spirituality, spiritual practices to build this business.
Okay, I love it. So I've always wanted to start this business, but at the beginning of this year, like January, February, I was like, let's get something kind of going. I want to help people that were just like me, like yo-yo dieters, you know, the whole 9 yards now, because you listen to all this, obviously. But I was like, I want to help these people. So I need to figure out exactly what those people need to hear and make content with that. So I thought about the pain points of what I was dealing with when I was really struggling. And then I wrote all of those things down. Like my pain points were my mindset, my bad relationship with food. And then I made content just like that for my ideal customer. And then from there, built a good community of people that just wanted to hear the right ways to lose weight without going through the unsustainable practices and all that good stuff. And then from there, just built this audience, like built a big following on TikTok. I think I now have like 12,000 on Instagram, which I know isn't a lot, but when you had 800 like 6 months ago, like 12,000 feels freaking huge.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that is a lot.
I know, but like, you know, like in your head, you're like, oh my God, like I don't even think this is going to be possible. Now it's like, oh my God, I have 12,000 people on
Imagine
Instagram.
standing in a room of 12,000 people. That's
Literally,
how I think of
yes.
it.
Exactly, though. Yes. And like just creating content for those people and then putting a membership together. Like, how can I help these people the most? So in my program, you get exercises, you get nutrition information, like calories and meal recommendations. But the best part about it is there's an entire section that teaches people like how to reprogram their mindset for fat loss and like getting down to your subconscious beliefs that you have about yourself. All of that's in that as well. And then obviously a lot of people felt like I did. So like they felt aligned with this membership, and I launched four and a half weeks ago now. And yeah, we've got like almost 600 people on it. So yeah, it's super, super awesome.
That's wild and so expansive. Like even for me listening, like a membership, 600 paying members, that is badass. Like that is really, really badass. And especially because I don't really dip my toes into the membership world yet, but I may consider it down the line. But even just hearing your story, seeing your results on Instagram, like I message you all the time and I'm like, you are killing it. Like this is expansive. Like just hearing how successful that you've been in building this business is so expansive. And I really encourage anybody listening to really look at this in a way where it's like, oh my God, this is possible for me too. So some people may have a vision of building a membership and building a course, for example, whatever it may be. And it's like hearing your story, how you started. You just started this year and look at how much you've created for yourself.
Yeah, it's been crazy, and I think the biggest reason that I am as successful as I have been so far, like I'm not trying to like toot my own horn, but like I know I'm doing well.
Toot it.
I know it's so, you know what I mean? It's like hard to like celebrate it, but you get what I'm saying. I felt it before I had the results. Like I feel no different right now than I felt like 3 months ago before any of this like actually came to like fruition. Like I felt like the feeling of excitement of knowing that it was going to be successful, even though I had no proof and like nothing on paper. Like I feel the same right now. And it's amazing. Like I just pictured it for so long. And like I just didn't see any other option in my head. And I just felt it. And I was super aligned with it, obviously, which is why it came the way that it did. But like, as long as you really feel it and you have this like burning fire inside of you, like there's nothing you can't do. And I think some people forget that and they look for all of the reasons why it can't be possible for them instead of just focusing on the reasons like why it is possible for them. Like I literally manifested these last 6 months of my life. I wrote it down in April, like my monthly income goal in my first month of launching. Like I'm here, like that's not a coincidence. Like I built this, and if I can do it, like anybody can do it. I'm not special. Like I wasn't growing up with like a silver spoon in my mouth. I didn't come from money. Like my parents weren't like this. Like I just designed this. I decided I wanted something and I went for it, and anybody can do this. Like literally anybody. So that's what everybody needs to know is like anybody is so capable of just becoming like a manifestation magnet to like anything that they want in this world. And when people really feel that power, like the stuff just like draws in. Like you don't even have to look for it. It just like falls into your plate. You know what I mean? So I love this. I love talking about this because it's so exciting and like almost like witchy, because some people still don't like fully grasp the concept of like how kind of simple it is as long as you're in alignment with it. But like, yeah, it is this amazing. I just love it. I love it so much.
You are magical. Like, I'm obsessed with your energy. I'm obsessed with everything you're saying. And it's like, I think sometimes I forget because, like, I'm in this world so deep, in this spiritual world, in this manifesting world. And I think that sometimes it's like, I forget, like, you know, that some people don't agree or some people don't, like, see it the way that we see it. And it's so important, the power of your mind. You and I both know this, whether it's for weight loss, whether it's for building your business, whether it's for creating habits. But what I absolutely love is that you are doing it in a way where, like, there is no plan B. Like, there's only plan A. And it's like, I trust that the universe has my back. And that takes a lot of courage.
No, 1,000%. And that's exactly how I feel. Like, you just can't see a different plan or like a different way out. Like, you have to be open for pivoting to get to the same goal. But like, if you don't put like a plan B in place, like, you're only going to get to your plan A. Like, you're going to get there. And it's normal to have doubt. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say like, I wake up every day just like so excited and ready to like take on the day and like manifest the rest of my life. Like, I wake up some mornings, I'm like, oh my God, like, what if this all just like gets taken away or everybody just like quits? And I'm like, that's not true though. Like, that's just your brain playing tricks on you. And you just have to move forward. Like, you're not your thoughts. Like, you're what you execute based on like what you know to be true, which is you attract what you are, and you can have anything you want. So I struggled with that when I decided to quit my full-time job, because I'm like, what if this fails? But then it's like, by me not pursuing what I know that I'm meant here to do, I'm doing a major disservice to the people that need me the most and the people that deserve to see me show up as like my best self. So it's like, you got to do what you know you're meant here to do. And if you have like this burning fire in you, like, you have to follow it, and you just got to trust that anything that you need is going to fall right into your lap, because I'm telling you, like, it always does, like, every single time.
I love that. And it's like, I just see like these little bits and pieces of it in my life too, because it's like, since I teach this stuff and since I'm so connected to it every day, I think sometimes that I forget about it in my own life, and I'll forget to like use it for myself. You probably feel like that too with your coaching.
All the time. Seriously, I feel it all the time. It's so normal. People think that people like me and you just like have it all together, like mentally 24/7, but like, that could not be further from the truth. Like, we're just like everybody else. It's just the decisions that we make and what we know to really be true. Like, we make decisions based on that, not based on like temporary feelings that we know like are not going to serve us.
Absolutely. And this brings me also into the conversation I want to have with you about bad business advice. So I know before you were launching your membership, it was scary. You had some outside noise. So how do you deal with maybe people not believing in you, but you have this burning fire and belief within yourself?
Like, people that gave me advice on like how to run my business. Number one, if you have never ran a successful business, like, I know this, actually, I'm just going to say, if you've never ran a successful business, like, do not tell me like how you think I'm supposed to run my business. You know what I'm saying? But seriously, I'm so sick of hearing business advice, even from people in my life right now. I'm like, show me your business. Like, you wouldn't take legal advice from someone who wasn't a lawyer. Like, why would you take business advice from somebody who's never ran a massively successful business? Like, it literally just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, a lot of people, especially like when I first got started with like getting ready for my marketing for my course, it's like, oh, like make your posts a little bit more like this, or have some sort of sale in the beginning and like do it like in this kind of way. But then I'm like, I don't want to discount my product and sell myself short to attract people that are only going to buy it based on the price, because like those people aren't going to stay anyways, you know? And like, that's not fair to like the other loyal people that have been paying me a different amount before, you know what I mean? So it's like, you got to do what feels aligned for you and for your business. And there's going to be a lot of outside noise, and some of the things that you think might defy logic and what has worked for other people in their business. Like, for example, I will never run a sale on my membership. Like, I'll never run a sale. I will up the price eventually, but like, I'm never going to do like a quick flash sale, because I don't believe that that's fair to the people that pay a certain amount every month. Like, if I found out that somebody else was paying less money for something that I paid, like, it would make me feel some type of way. And this has happened in my life before. So it's what I've seen in other people's business practices that like doesn't feel good to me. Basically, if you don't feel aligned with it, don't do it. If it's not like a hell yes, it's like a absolutely not. So that's how I make decisions. And like, that's what I do when I hear people giving me advice about things that they probably don't even know what they're talking about. So, but yeah.
I love that. And I think it's okay for people to want to do different things and different business models. But I think the number one thing I'm hearing from what you said is to always do what feels good and aligned for you. Because I know I've caught myself in my business falling for the trap, listening to other people's advice when maybe they had successful businesses, maybe they had more money or more revenue generated, but I didn't feel aligned to the strategy. And that's so important, that just because someone's making more money, maybe they even have a successful business, doesn't mean their model or their way of doing things is the best way for you, because it comes back to that feeling where I think you launched a course before this membership, right?
Yes.
Or no?
Yeah,
and
I did.
You weren't aligned to it, right?
I was not as aligned with my launching process as I was with my alignment with my membership. Absolutely. And my course was like the first thing that like I dabbled into. Like I'm still really proud of it, but like the way that I went about marketing it and selling it, like I followed other people's advice that like I knew deep down didn't serve me, but I followed it because I'm like, okay, but this is what the most successful people are doing. And then it's not that that course was a flop. I just didn't feel good talking about it all the time. And like when you're not energetically there, people can tell. So yeah, I didn't sell nearly as many courses as I am in my membership because I'm so energetically aligned with my membership. And I still, again, I love my course. I agree with everything that's in my course. It's just the way that I promoted it, like, does not speak to me. So I almost have like a little bit of like a negative like feeling associated with it because I'm like, ew, like I feel like I could have just done that so much better if I just stuck true to what I knew about like myself and what I knew would serve my people the best. But it's like you learn it, you know, like if you don't go through it, you don't know. So it's like, I don't regret it. I needed to learn that lesson, but I will never go back now on my intuition. I don't care how successful somebody else's launch is. I am me and I know me better than anybody else. And if I don't stay in tune with that, like I'm not going to be nearly as successful. And other people might think of what I'm saying is like, oh, like, I don't believe in what she's saying. Like, I will run the sale, blah, blah, blah. And like, that might work really well for your business. And like, I love that for you. Like, do it. If it works for you and you feel aligned with it, do it. But like, it's just not aligned with me. I'm just all about people doing what like feels most aligned to them, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So what is your big vision? Like, where do you see your brand going, your business going? What's your big deep down why?
Oh my gosh. Like, it's so crazy. Like, I think about this all the time and like, it always changes a little bit. But like my big vision, like long term, is probably to just keep growing this membership as much as I can, help as many people with this. I'll probably open a group coaching program with this eventually as well, like just being able to work a little bit more intimately with some people without taking on as many one-to-ones. Long term, like my big goal, I don't think I've even ever told you this, like my big goal is to be a client attraction coach for businesses because I think I mastered how to attract my ideal client. And I know I can do that in any other aspect. So like that is like the big long-term vision goal. I've never said that out loud. Isn't that crazy?
You're manifesting it right here on this podcast.
I am. No, I definitely am. Like that's definitely what I want to do. Like full time, work with really high level people that have a really good business idea. They just want help attracting the right people into their business. So that's my very long-term goal.
Oh, okay. So tell us your best piece of advice for attracting your ideal clients.
Attracting your ideal clients, think of your ideal client and think about the problems that they're having right now. So again, for me, like if you're in weight loss, somebody's experiencing problems with food, they're experiencing a not good mindset. Take those ideas and create content that almost goes backwards from that to make them aware of their problem. Like problem aware content is really where it is. But a lot of people just don't know how to like actually put problem aware content into a way that their ideal person can see it and recognize it, like, oh, you have a solution for that. But that's the best piece of advice that I would say to somebody that wants to attract their ideal client. Find their pain points and milk them and make them realize that you have a solution for it.
I love that. And I love that too, because I want to talk about this because I, in the beginning of my business, used to do a lot of pain point marketing, but I actually didn't like it. I didn't like doing pain point marketing, and I'll share why. Because it didn't feel good for me to really just like target people at their pain. Like I really felt like it was like that's how I got drawn into a lot of things that I ended up not being happy with. So what I'm doing now, and honestly, I think you do more of this, but maybe you're not aware of it. It's called pleasure point marketing, saying, I hear your pain, and speaking more to like the dream outcome, and speaking more to like, this is what's possible for you. This is how to overcome that pain. And that's really how I market moving forward. And I feel like I'm so blessed and so grateful. And like recently, just, I would say the past 6 months, just attracting in like the most ideal clients for my business. And I have like a different business model than you, but just really speaking more to like, this is what's possible for you. And I think you do a lot of that.
I do a lot of that without even being aware of like what you were just even like saying what it was. And I will go back to like the pain point thing. I do sell the dream like while making you acknowledge your pain point. Because if somebody doesn't really know their problem sometimes, like it's hard for them to see the greater vision of like what their life could look like after this transformation. So I do that, but I didn't even realize it until like you kind of just said it. So that's actually kind of weird.
Yeah,
but I do
absolutely.
do that.
Yeah, you do. And it's so true, because I think, especially when I first started out as a coach, and maybe you can relate to this, I would be like, oh my God, does this person not see like their own BS? Like, do they not see their own excuses? And I'm like, no, they don't. That's why they hired me, to call them out on their excuses. So for example, like just 2 experiences I had in the past 24 hours, I like caught clients in their own self-sabotage. And I literally said, you are self-sabotaging right now. Like making them aware of what they're doing. And this is why they hired you. This is why they hired me. And it's like, in the beginning, I used to feel bad. And now like yesterday, literally, I could play my voice notes for you with my client I was coaching via Telegram. And I'm literally screaming with like so much love and passion. I'm like, do you hear yourself? Like, this is not the version of you that I know. This is not the highest self version of you. I don't know what low vibe story you're in, but this is not who you are. And then I remember that it's like all my coaches and mentors and my groundbreaking moments are those moments where I almost felt like triggered by my coaches, because that's when I see the pain transform into purpose. When I really see that transformation within myself, when someone can call me out on my own shit, and especially being like a higher caliber of person, someone who has seen success, but is trying to break through to that next level of like ultra success, you need to have somebody in your right corner that's going to call you out when you're self-sabotaging.
No, I agree with that 1,000%. And I think, honestly, we live in a world right now where people tiptoe around being honest with people, because a lot of people are afraid of offending people or hurting people's feelings. But honestly, the only reason that I was able to lose weight, like just going back to what you were saying, like you have like these breakthrough moments, like was when I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh my God, like you are fat. And that's not mean. That was me being honest with myself. And I didn't feel like I was being mean, because everybody's like, oh my God, like that's so nasty. Like, no, that's actually the most love I've ever given to myself. Like when I was able to look at myself in the mirror and just tell myself the truth instead of tiptoeing around it. And like, that was my breakthrough moment. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do something about this now. I'm going to focus on what I know. And I'm going to use that as motivation to remind myself, like, it doesn't have to be this way. But like, if you don't call yourself out, or if you don't have people in your life that are going to call you out on your stuff, like nothing's going to change. Like nothing changes if nothing changes. So like, it is good to have people in your corner that are going to be honest with you. And no, I don't tell my clients like, oh my God, you're fat, like blah, blah, blah. Like, of course not. Like nobody does that. But like, you get what I'm saying? Because people will be like, oh, I bet you talk to your clients like that. Like, no, my clients hired me to give them structure. Like they already know what they feel about themselves. I'm not there to change that. I'm there to like pave the way to like give them the life they want, right? But you got to be honest with yourself and honest with the people in your life. Like the best way you can love yourself is to be honest with yourself. Absolutely.
I love this conversation, because recently I heard something on a podcast and the person was like, is it self-care? Is it self-sabotage? And what she was talking about specifically is sometimes you need the bubble bath. You need the bubble bath. You need to watch the Kardashians. Sometimes you do genuinely need that.
Oh, yeah.
But if you have a deadline, whether it be in school, in your business, in your workplace, and you just are like, you know what? Self-care, bubble bath, Kardashians, that would be self-sabotage. Maybe you're going to get fired. Maybe you're going to let a client down. And that's exactly what we're talking about, how you had to look yourself in the mirror. And this is what I struggled with for a while, especially with food. I would be like, oh, you know, fuck diet culture, intentional living, right? Intuitive eating. And it was really self-sabotage.
Yeah,
because I think there is such a way for us to practice intuitive eating, but I don't think that enough people are talking about, and I know this can be controversial and maybe to even anyone listening, but I think it's really important to ask ourselves, is this self-care? Is this self-sabotage? Because I definitely got into a lot of bad habits with food, my weight, things like that, because I chose self-sabotage when I thought it was self-care.
Exactly. And that's a very fine line that people don't really know that they're walking sometimes, especially with do I go watch the Kardashians or do I go to the gym? Like, my thing that I tell myself is if I feel good enough right now that I would go sit at a bar with my friends and have a couple of drinks, I'm fine enough to go to the gym. Like, I just don't feel like going to the gym. And like, from there, I make that decision. But if I'm so tired, like physically, that I'm like, I would not go out with my friends, like, then yeah, I will go home and take a bubble bath, because sometimes that is what's necessary to help you recover and all of that good stuff. But a lot of people use the self-care route, like, oh, take care of yourself. It's really just a cop-out a lot of the time. And a lot of people don't have enough self-awareness, though, to be able to look in the mirror and realize, like, you are putting yourself even further away from what you really think that you want, because you're taking like the easy thing now. Like, you're choosing like the easier thing because it's more fun and it's bubble bathy and sweet, but then you're taking yourself further away like from your goal. Same thing with intuitive eating. Like, people are like, just listen to your body, like listen to what you need. But like, if you've been eating like shit, like, sorry, I don't even like to use that word, but if you've been eating foods that are not serving your goals for the past whoever knows how long, 5-10 years, like, you can't just tell that person to go eat intuitively. They don't know how to eat for their body. Like, they don't know how to eat to feel their body. So like, that's toxic. Like, just telling somebody like, oh, just go do it, feels good. Like, they're not serving themselves. And like, it's not a secret that like, if you just keep eating foods that you know like don't have good ingredients in them, and you're not moving your body and you're not honoring yourself, like, you will get sick, like, whether you want to believe it or not. Like, it's true, and it might not happen yet, but like, it'll eventually catch up with you. And like, that's not what self-love is. Like, self-love is being able to look at yourself in the mirror and like be honest with yourself and make the decisions that you know are going to serve you better, not just for now, but for the future version of you that is begging for you not to give up on them. Like, there's a future version of everybody that is like begging and pleading for you to just keep going, like chase your dream, like chase your business, like chase the healthiest version of you. But like, every time that you choose the easier route instead of choosing that future version of you that is begging for you, like, part of her dies inside a little bit, and like, she's begging for you. And like, that's how I see my life, and like, it works. Like, make the harder decision if you have to, but like, that's what self-love like actually is, in my opinion, at least. But yeah,
I love everything you're saying. I love that analogy. I'm going to start using that. Like, there's a future version of you begging for you to follow those dreams, do those things. Because another good point I actually want to point out is when you were talking about like intuitive eating and listening to your body, for someone who doesn't have those habits instilled in them, that was my problem. So I didn't have those habits instilled in me. I didn't even know how to count macros. I didn't even know what macros were until like a year ago. And I had hired a health coach, and she had helped me learn about how much protein we need, counting macros, just like the basic stuff that most people know. And the people who are promoting intuitive eating know those things. But for someone like me that didn't know, I thought intuitive eating meant eat whatever you want, whenever you want. And it's not. And it's like, I know there's going to be some controversy because, of course, we want to honor our bodies. But now the approach that I have is like, working 1 month with that health coach opened my eyes so much to just teach me the basic stuff that I did not know about protein intake, fiber, iron, like just that basic stuff of like what we need, what's important, like back to basics. Now I can actually intuitively eat in the sense of every time I eat something, how does that make me feel? And I look at like a science experiment to see, dairy, that kind of bothered my stomach. I'm going to avoid it. That's intuitive eating for me, letting the way that you feel be the best doctor, be the best truth teller to understand what your body likes and what your body doesn't like, rather than being like, I had a bad day, I'm going to go eat some cake, which is how I was living up until recently.
Yes, no, 1,000%. And so many people get that confused. And because it sounds nice. It sounds nice to say out loud, like, eat intuitively, listen to your body. But again, like, if you don't know how to eat for your body or what your body really needs, like, you have no idea. And a lot of people don't even realize it, that they just feel like sluggish after they eat because they think that's kind of just how they're supposed to feel because they're used to it for so long. And like, that is like, could not be further from the truth. And like you said, like, if you eat dairy, like, that like doesn't make you feel good, even though ice cream might be so good, like, you're like, I might avoid that because I know that I'm not going to feel really good later. And like, some people will look at that as you restricting. And I'm like, you're not restricting. Like, you're not saying, again, no to the ice cream. You're saying yes to feeling good in a little while. And like, that is much more important, in my opinion, than eating something because it tastes good for 5 minutes and then you feel awful after. But like, if you don't know what intuitive eating is, like, that's what you choose to do because you're like, oh, I'm in the mood for it. Like, I'm just going to listen to myself. Like, that's not what self-love is, though. Like, you have to listen to your body, and like, your body tells you like how you're feeling about what the type of foods you eat. And most people just don't know what it feels like to eat really good, nutritious foods on a regular basis because they're so used to just feeling the sluggishness, like the tiredness. Like, you change your diet, like, your entire life is going to change. Again, just adding things in. It's not even taking away all of the things that you enjoy. It's like slowly adding things into your life, and like, your life changes. Like, I just think so much better. Like, even now when I just eat better food, I can tell like how I feel based on like, I'm like, oh yeah, I ate this earlier in the day. Like, that's why I'm feeling like this right now. And when you realize that and you see the feedback within hours of like what you put in your body, like, you're more likely to want to put the things in your body that genuinely make you feel good.
I love, and resonate so much with everything you're saying. This was so juicy. This was so good. What would you say to somebody who's listening to this right now and is like so inspired to start their journey? Well, what would you say to them?
Like, in regards to like weight loss, or in regards to like just going after like whatever they want in their life?
I would say weight loss. If they're like, okay, maybe I've been self-sabotaging, not self-caring, and maybe I have some changes to make. What would be the babiest, tiniest step they could take today to just get started?
The first thing that I would do, and what I have my clients do, is design the future version of themselves and how you want to feel, what you want to look like, what you want to experience, and write it down as if you already had it. And this sounds so basic, but like, if you don't know where you're going and why you're doing it, you're going to go nowhere really fast. Because I could give you the perfect nutrition plan, I could give you the perfect exercise routine, I could give you every tool, but you're not going to follow it if your why isn't big enough. And if you write down that future version of yourself that you know you want to experience and like, you know you deserve, write that down in present tense as if you had it. And then you're slowly going to be able to make those decisions that you already know how to do in order to get to that point. So design your future version of you. And like, that's the first thing that I would tell somebody.
I love that. Oh my God. Our teachings are so aligned. I need to have you come in my course and like teach a masterclass. We need to like do some sort of swap like that, because everything that you're talking about is so aligned to what I believe in, what I teach my students on, and what I live by in my life. Like, this is something recently I'm going through as well, is like asking myself, because it's like I've kind of plateaued to a point where I'm like, okay, I've seen success and I see repeatable success and I'm very grateful for it, but how do I break through to that next level? And for me, the biggest thing that's starting to change slowly, and I know I'm going to come back to this and be like, she was on something. She totally knew she was onto something. And embodying what that next level of success version of me would do. So when I hear something, when I react to something, like, another example, my brother like has been listening to my podcast, so now I'm like, I got to be careful what I say. If I say anything, I'm kidding. But he talked to me, he called me about something, and he's like, oh my God, I just got off this like call with this potential consultant. Guess how much he's charging for a 3-month retainer? And I was like, how much? He's like, $10,000. Can you believe that? And I was like, wow, that's so good for him. Because the old me would have been like, what? $10,000? Oh my God.
Who is he?
my one-on-one coaching for 3 months is $10,000 and I'm offering way more than that, like blah, blah, blah. But I was like, wow, that's so good for him. Like, that's so cool. Like, that's awesome. And I even saw the way that my brother reacted to it was like, oh shit. Yeah, like
She's
that is kind of cool. And it's like you impact and inspire the people. So it's like, this is what I'm doing in my life now too, is like, how would that next level of success version of me act, and embodying that every single day.
No, I love that. And I totally agree with that too. And like getting excited about seeing what other people are charging instead of being like, how dare they? Like, who do they think they are? Because when you're embodying it and you're excited for them, like you're telling the universe, like, I like the way this feels and like this is expansive. And if you say, oh, like, why are you charging that much? Like, that's just your own insecurities and the own way that you feel about yourself, like reflecting in that conversation. So I love that you said that, like, and I agree with that 1,000%.
I love it. Thank you so much, Maddie, for coming on. Pimp yourself out. Where can people find you? Tell us all the things. We're going to include everything in the show notes, but give people a little sneak peek.
On Instagram and TikTok are my two big platforms, and it's just my name, Maddie Cousin. And yeah, just put it in the description because nobody can spell cousin correctly. So yeah.
I feel you, girl. My name is like rocket science to like anybody outside of Italy. So
how do you pronounce your last name? Like, I've always wondered that.
Guerrieri.
Guerrieri. Ooh,
but
Giulia
if we're
Guerrieri.
saying it in Italian, it's Guerrieri.
Guerrieri. Oh, that's fancy. I didn't
Close
even
enough.
do that right. I just butchered that for real. That's so fun.
Close enough. Yeah, thank you so much.
That's all that matters.
We're going to include everything in the show notes. And we'll definitely have you back on again for a masterclass for sure.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. This was so fun. It was so good to chat with you.
You too.